In today's video, I want to talk about sponsorships in the sport and a new sponsor that I got recently and I want to promote. So let me start with the sponsor that I got. I recently was sponsored by KOBOLD Press. You can see here on this shield that I had painted with their logo. I'm very lucky to have an artist, Megan Slotchy Designs, who did the art for me for KOBOLD Press. For those who don't know, KOBOLD Press makes TTRPG game books and is a game system, so similar to other game systems most familiar with like Dungeons & Dragons. It's actually 5e compatible. They make a ton of amazing products, including their own standalone game, which is compatible with it, spell books, magic books, anything for people who like playing role-playing games. And I have liked their products for a long time. I've played with some of their editions when I've been playing, particularly 5e, and I'm now diving into their own independent game system. And it's really cool, and I'll be talking more about that in the future, sharing some of their products, and talking about why I had them sponsor me. But before I get into that particular sponsorship, the real point of this video is to talk about sponsorships in our sport in general. And how did I get this sponsor? So first of all, one of the things that I do think we struggle with in the sport is we're not generally paid. There are some leagues paying now, there are some specific tournaments paying now, but for most fighters, you are paying out of pocket to travel to events and to get your name out there. Because of the rules of the largest league right now, BI, Booher International, having to be authenticity and matching medieval and approved, it's really hard to get sponsors that you promote for events. This shield, while I love it and I will be using it for a bunch of local events and non-BI events, it won't be BI legal. I can't have logos and names and things that are not medieval on this particular, in that particular format. That limits to some degree the way we can promote. Now, that doesn't mean you can't find ways to get sponsors. And I think sponsors are very important as the sport continues to grow. Do I foresee a day perhaps when the leagues are big enough that they're paying fighters, they have their own sponsorship programs? Maybe, potentially, and hopefully. But in the meantime, I do think putting some effort in there individually, if you're a fighter who's committed, who's training, who's traveling, to growing your own brand and reputation is really important. You have to own this like your own business. So KOBOLD Press is not fight related. It's a game, a gaming system, right? And I met their team at Gen Con when I was traveling and playing board games and tabletop games, right? Just for fun, nothing about fighting. But I met them, and we were actually buying a patch from them that had a sword on it. I thought it was cool, and they asked, hey, what do you want the patch for? I said, you know what, I'm going to tell you what I do. I fight in steel armor, and I think this patch is really cool, and I want to put it on one of my vests and things like that. And it started a conversation, right? So I think the first thing to think about is if you're looking for sponsorship or you're looking for someone to support you, you don't have to stick with just companies that are in the sport specific. So this has initially nothing to do with that. However, the reason that I went after the sponsorship and I talked to them is I know a ton of fighters who play tabletop games. It's very, very common, right? So I'm helping to get their name out in the industry, sharing some of their products, talking about what they offer, and helping to promote them in an area that they're probably not marketing to directly. They are not going to have many sponsored fighters in Night Fight, and they, after a great conversation with them, working with their team, sharing what I value I bring to them and what I can promote, and then hopefully them, sponsoring me. We came up with an agreement. They'll be sponsoring me for the year, and part of that is I'm going to be using their logos when I can and talking about their products in my videos. So I found a way through just conversation and communication to put out there and say, hey, I really think that this could be mutually beneficial. So what is a sponsorship? A sponsorship is a company deciding to give you something monetary or equipment or something to support you in exchange usually for you promoting their company, supporting their company, and finding a way to get their products out there. There's all different versions of it, but I do think that if you keep your kind of nose to the grindstone, your ear to the thing around you, an analogy that I can't figure out the analogy. Ears to the grindstone, who knows what it is. But if you do that, you're paying attention. There are opportunities out there. This shirt I'm wearing, actually, they sent me. So, KOBOLD instead of KOBOLD. It says, do you even lift, bro? I'm going to get up there at the bottom of it. I love this shirt. It's great. I'll be wearing it and helping to kind of talk about their company and some of the cool things they offer. So this, it all kind of matches. They're like weirdly a little bit like fitness focused in some of their language and their books and things. Like a swobold is hilarious to me. A jacked kobold. So it kind of just matched up because we started talking. Now, again, I was at Gen Con. For those who don't know, Gen Con is a huge convention. 60,000 people. Thousands and thousands of games and hundreds of game companies. And it's not like I went around, handing out my card, being like, hey, I'm a fighter, you should sponsor me. I wasn't looking for anything. But in conversation, it comes up, I explain what I do, I talk about the benefit, and I just asked, would you consider sponsoring me as a fighter? That's all it takes sometimes, right? I know of other fighters out there who have sponsorships through, protein powder companies, and protein powder shakes, things like that. And there are ways to do it, but you have to bring value. So I think it's the first thing. And then, coming from my other world of doing some coaching and language and sales and stuff like that, basically you got an elevator pitch. What value do I bring to you? What can you bring to me? And we got to do this pretty quickly so you have an understanding it and then follow-up conversations, right? So I do think that it's really cool that I have this opportunity. I do fight enough local or non-BI events and tournaments and Ren fairs and other things that I get to promote them, directly with this shield, which is awesome. And I'm hoping that every time I go and fight, someone asks me about it. Hey, what is KOBOLD Press? And I can talk to them about it, send her the website, talk about the products if they're interested. There's a great overlap, like I said, between the communities. This helps promote those products. So my question for you is, if you're out there saying, hey, I need help with my costs of fighting, my costs of doing this, my costs of travel, who could you reach out to? And what value could you bring to them? I play tabletop games. It's awesome. I already do this. So I'm familiar with the world, and now I get to share some of that with all of you, and I get to share this great company and talk about it and be part of their KOBOLD creators promotion production and help to kind of bring their name out into this community a little more than it already is. I also get to, on the flip side, promote this sport, and that's really important to me because the gaming community doesn't know much about it if you're not talking about it. They had never heard of this. They didn't know we were doing it. Actually, one person had said, hey, I think I saw something at Dragon Con. And that was the extent of it, I think. So we talked about that, right? So it's an opportunity to also promote the sport outside of the sport itself. I can reach out to companies that already make armor and weapons and equipment for the sport. And those are great sponsors as well, and you should be looking at those if you're in a place to do it. I believe GS Studios just sponsored Johnny Porter with a suit of dueling armor. Now, Johnny Porter, an amazing fighter, great person in the community, someone that is going to go and put out good results and a good show. Makes a lot of sense for GS Studio to promote him and offer them that. If I got the company wrong, I apologize. This is what I saw recently, but he is being sponsored by a company with a piece of equipment. That's fantastic. You should do that as well. But don't limit yourself to that if you're looking at how to grow your own brand, recognition, and your place in the sport. I hope there comes a day where it's not something that fighters have to be their own marketers. Currently, we're kind of there. And that's okay, because that's how you grow. But take it on yourself to find ways to do that. It can be little things, it can be agreements, it can be a friend's local company, right? If you got a landscaper who wants to support you because you do a bunch of fights in their area and they want their name on a billboard, do it, right? A little name on a sign or something like that. If they want to put a patch on your tabard, do it. I particularly, for things that aren't requirements, I don't care if I end up looking like a NASCAR car right now. Because for me, it's getting a name out and getting the sport grown and also helping support companies. I hope there's a day that we have a clean way of doing it, an organized system. There's sponsorship programs built into the sport, and there's contracts and all that, just like every other high-end sport has right now. But until we get there, let's find a way to support ourselves, to grow our own things, and to help take care of ourselves. Is this going to, cover all my costs for travel and fighting and equipment? No. Is it going to help a little bit? Yeah. It's going to help me promote and grow this channel. I'm actually going to be putting some of the funds towards better recording equipment, so I have better recording equipment for these videos. So for me, it's really about finding ways to connect with people that companies that I care about. Now, for me, it's really important you're authentic. I think it's really hard to promote things you don't care about. I don't want to talk about something that doesn't matter to me. I want to talk about this because I like the company, I like the brand, I think the shirt's awesome. I got some other stuff that I'll be debuting in future videos. Probably doing some, sharing some of the books, potentially some giveaways as well. But all of that is to help get their name out there and help grow the sport on that end too, and help merge those communities even closer. So I'd love your thoughts, comments, ideas. I'm Woodchuck Knight. Like, subscribe, follow. And if you see me fighting anywhere around here, you're going to see me wearing this shield. I'm fighting tonight in Nashua, New Hampshire, actually, a local match. And I'll be debuting the shield for the first time and seeing how dinged up it gets and how many touch-ups I have to do until I fight again.